Okay, well, hello. My name is Simon Reichwald, and I'm from Bright Futures. Today, I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about how to create that perfect CV. So I'm going to spend less than 10 minutes giving you some key tips about how to structure your CV and how to make the experiences that you've got stand out as strongly as possible. So first thing to think about with a CV, the purpose of a CV is to sell you. It's the first view that an organisation is going to have of who you are and what you're all about, so it's important that you realise that this is a selling document, so you need to blow your own trumpet a little bit with what you've done. You do it truthfully, obviously, but you need to blow your own trumpet. The other thing you need to do with your CV is to make sure it differentiates you. There are 300,000 graduates that come out of university every single year. It's a really, really competitive market, and most graduate CVs look the same. You've all pretty much done the same kind of academics, got some form of work experience. So what you've got to be doing when you're looking at your CV, when you're putting it together, you've really got to think about how does this differentiate me and make me stand out from all the other people that I'm competing against. So what I'm going to talk to you about now is how do you make your CV stand out? How do you differentiate yourself from everybody else? So first of all, in terms of the structure of the CV, first thing you need to obviously have on it is your personal details right at the top, and do remember stuff like your mobile number and email so companies can quickly get in touch with you. And then underneath your personal details, what a lot of people have is something like a personal summary. It'll be 2 or 3 lines that says something like, I'm a motivated, enthusiastic, keen graduate, my experience of that is it's pointless, and everybody does it, and I can't tell you how many people I've met whose CV says I'm an energetic, enthusiastic graduate, and they couldn't be more boring or dull if they tried. So what I would recommend, do something different with it. So as opposed to having a personal summary, have something like career objectives. And talk about, so I'm really looking for a career within HR, or really looking for a career within IT or finance, and just 2 or 3 lines about what you were looking to do. Because that will be different for what most CVs do, and also what it will do is start to demonstrate to the employer that you have some focus on what you want to do for a career, because that's a really important thing that employers look for in graduates, is do you know what you want to do? So having something like career objectives on your CV, just 2 or 3 lines, great way to start standing out. After that, after your career objective section, you're going to have then your academic achievements. And with your academic achievements, start with your most recent. So that's going to be your time at university. So you definitely want to have university, subject you're studying, and then your expected degree classification. So if you're expecting a first, put expecting first. If you're expecting a 2-1, put expecting a 2-1. If you're expecting a 2-2 or a third, leave it blank. But if you're expecting to do well, do put that on your CV. And then with your other academic achievements, let's say you did A-levels, they would then come next after your degree classification. And again, put your grades. If you've just listed subjects you studied at A-level without the grades, we as employers will assume the worst. We will assume that you've got D's and E's. So if they are D's and E's, you might want to leave it blank. But otherwise, put the grades in that you've got. Blank, we will assume the worst. And the other thing about your degree, actually, is that a lot of people in their CVs, I'll often see they'll list all their modules that they've done through their time at university. In my experience, it's a waste of space. You've only got 2 pages with your CV unless you're applying to a bank, in which case it's probably only 1 page, but you haven't got a lot of space. So the only time I'd suggest you list 1 or 2 of the modules you've done is if they are relevant to the role that you're applying for. So let's say you're applying for an HR role and you've done some key HR modules within your degree. I'd list those modules, particularly if you did well at them. So if you got 60-odd%, 70-odd% of them, I'd definitely put that, and again the percentage you got. It helps you stand out. It says, I have achieved in this area that I'm looking to pursue as a career. So that's what I do with your academics. And the other thing with your academics is I see often is people then list all their GCSEs that they've done down the side of the page. Again, waste loads of space. With your GCSEs, my advice would just be, if you did 8 GCSEs, for example, just put 8 GCSEs. If you did well at them, put all A stars or A to Bs. The only 2 grades we're typically interested with GCSEs might be English and maths. But don't just list them all down the page. It tends to be a waste of space. So after your academics, the next thing you want to think about is work experience that you've got. And again, start with your most recent and most impactful. So if you've done a placement year, if you've done an internship, I'd kind of lead with that. And the important thing to remember about work experience is any work experience is valuable because it gives you the opportunity to develop skills and to make a difference in the roles that you've been in and to demonstrate achievement. And that would be my big bit of advice around your work experience. Is again what I'll often see with students with their CVs and their work experience, what they'll do is they'll list all the duties that are involved in the job. And most employers, when you put who you work for and what your job role was, will know roughly what you've done in terms of your duties within that role. If you want to stand out through your work experience, the advice I would give you is have something around what you achieved in that role. So focus on the achievements, the difference that you made by being in that job. How you went the extra mile, how you did more. Examples of that might be anything from, let's say it was in a sales job and you generated sales, talk about how many sales you generated. If you're in a telesales job or a telemarketing job, how many calls you have to make a day, how many people you managed to speak to, appointments that you made. If it was in a role where you got the opportunity to reduce costs, or even if it's somebody who works in a bar or a nightclub and you introduced a student night on a Wednesday, which doubled the amount of people that came through that nightclub or that bar, that's the kind of stuff we're interested in. We're interested in measurable evidence of what you have achieved in your work. How have you made a difference in that business? How have you made an impact? Those are the kinds of things you need to think about. The other thing, of course, within work experience is responsibilities that you've earned, promotions that you've got. So again, going back to the bar job, you might have started out as working in the bar, but by the end of your time there, you were standing in for the manager when they weren't there, responsible for training up new members of staff. This is evidence of things you have achieved through the work that you have done, and all that helps you to stand out. So that would be some ways to make your work experience really stand out. So remember, all work experience is relevant, and really focus on what you've achieved in those roles. After your work experience, what you'll then go on to is other achievements. So and now this is an opportunity to talk about other things you've done outside of work in university. And this is a really important issue for employers. Employers, when they're interviewing grads, are always going to be thinking about, okay, so you've gone to university, yeah, great, got a good degree, yeah, great. What else have you done? What else have you got? How else have you used your time at university to better you and to achieve? So these other achievements, other things you've been involved in, are important. And that can be anything from, really high levels of IT skills, it can be fluency in foreign languages, but also it can be achievement within sport. So you might have been a player for the top team, you might have been captain of one of the teams. It could be achievement in music, you got to grade 5, grade 6, grade 7. It can be you've got involved in a society and club and took a committee role on, something like the Bright Future Society. So you have taken a committee role, you've taken a lead role within a student society or club, but it's where you've done something extra during your time at university. These are the kind of things that employers are interested in. Volunteering is also something that's really popular with employers. Stuff like Duke of Edinburgh. There's lots of other activities that you will have been involved in, that you will have achieved in, and again, you need to focus on what you achieved within those roles. Final part of your CV then typically is your references. And my advice to most people with their references is don't list them. It's a waste of space. As I said, you've only got 2 pages, so I'd literally have something like references available on request. Putting down the names and addresses of some people that the employer will have no idea who they are just doesn't add anything to your CV. Remember what I said at the beginning, this is a sales document, and your references aren't going to sell you unless your reference is the Prime Minister or something. But it's just not going to make a difference. So references available on request is absolutely fine. Use the rest of that CV, those 2 pages, to really sell you. Final point I'd make about layout of the CV is you might want to think about using judiciously, but using bold. So for example, if with your degree you're expecting a first, or your A-levels you got 3 A's, or you're a captain of a team or president of a society, or you massively help reduce the costs in your internship or your placement, put those little bits of information in bold. So when someone's looking at your 2-page CV, key things really come off the page and are easy for us to see, wow, look at all the things that this person has achieved. Because most CVs, they don't get long. They're looked at pretty briefly. So make it easy for them to find out the good stuff about you. And again, on that point, Don't have big blocks of text. I see this a lot as well. Bullet points is a good idea. You might need to write some text, but big chunks of 8, 9, 10 lines of text on the CV is not good. It just makes it hard work for the employer looking at hundreds and hundreds of CVs. Make it easy for them to find out the good stuff about you. So final point really, I think to make is with your CV, when you're putting it together, and when you've put it together, take a look at it, and is there lots of measurable evidence of where you have achieved? That's what you need to be thinking about. Does this sell you? Does this differentiate you from everyone else? Or is this just a list of things you've done? That isn't going to make your CV stand out. But a document that shows where you've achieved in lots of different areas, academically, in your work experience, and the other activities you've been involved in, it shows that breadth of things that you've done and your ability to achieve in lots of different areas. It doesn't matter what they are, but achieve in lots of different areas. That's how you make your CV stand out. So I hope that was useful, if you want to find out more about this kind of stuff, get involved in the Bright Future Society at your university. This is a big part of what we're all about, is helping students and graduates stand out and get the kind of job that they're looking for. But hopefully that's given you lots of great advice about a CV. So good luck and get applying.